What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. Just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And don't forget to smash the like button. So today, guys, I had a very big issue that happened. I have a massive Wi-Fi outage in my area. So I'm using my hotspots to record this video. And if I do upload this, it's going to take a while to get this uploaded. So that's the reason why I have to make this video a little bit short. It's very simple. I really hope that my Wi-Fi issue is resolved by tomorrow. My provider said it may not be resolved until the nighttime, so hopefully things are back to normal by then. So that's why I'm going to be kind of quick when I make this video. So anyways, what's happening with the markets? Unfortunately, Nvidia is dumping despite the fact that they had some pretty good earnings, in my opinion. They actually did relatively well, but it wasn't really enough to impress Wall Street. And once again, the market is manipulated. They found their reasons to dump things, and we just have to accept it. So what happened with Nvidia? Right now, we're down over 6%. We were down like 9%, so it's still down quite a bit, despite the fact that they reported 122% revenue growth on surging demand for their data center chips, despite the fact that they approved a $50 billion buyback. EPS was a beat at 68 cents adjusted, and then they also had revenue at 30 billion, a nice beat by almost $2 billion dollars, excuse me. And they also did relatively well with guidance. Their Q3 guidance was well above expectations. So they beat guidance, they beat on EPS and revenue. Their sales were not bad. Right now, their demand is very high, and their next generation products are looking pretty good. So the majority of this news was great, in my personal opinion. We did see their gross margins slip just a little bit, but for the most part, I would say the earnings was more good than bad. Despite that, maybe it wasn't really enough to impress Wall Street, and they found their reasons to dump things. That's why the share price is dumping, at least thus far. So that's going to have a very big effect on the markets. Also notes that tomorrow is going to be Thursday, August 29th, 2024. 1 hour before the market opens, we have the GDP numbers coming out that might cause some volatility. So I'll be back tomorrow to report how that's looking. And besides that, there's not really a whole lot of other major pieces of data besides the GDP numbers. So, what are we seeing for the markets? What are we seeing for the charts? And how will this affect Tesla? So, Nvidia is down right now. You can see it's trying to shuffle around the 4-hour 200 EMA. But if anything, we still look more bearish, and we are still favoring that test of that 114 area. If we fail there, I think we could come down to fill this gap towards 108. So there's going to be a risk of more downside with this head and shoulders like structure and this big rejection that Nvidia has gotten. If you want to turn bullish on Nvidia, we got to get back above 125. We're pretty far from that. We're almost 9 points away, and there's going to likely be even more downside coming as we're down over or almost 7% right now. So with Nvidia dumping, this is the perfect excuse that Wall Street are going to use. Wall Street are going to use this to basically dump the markets. For Tesla, we got to reclaim 212 to really start pushing to the upwards direction. We're pretty far from that right now. We're barely at 203. So I'm going to be looking at 202 as our support. If 202 fails, Tesla will be dipping down towards this next support at 199, followed by the 195 area. And then below that, we have this imbalance at 191. So I think that Tesla's going to be dipping to the 190s very soon, to at least 199. And I think there's going to be even more downside to the mid 190s as we look more bearish. The trend is bearish, making lower highs and lower lows. Tesla's been getting a rejection. And remember, Tesla is a big partner with Nvidia as they're providing tens of thousands of chips for the company. They're very pivotal for Tesla's AI development. So that's part of why they're using that as an excuse to dump Tesla and the broader markets. So the whole market's affecting Tesla. That's part of why it's dipping as well. As you guys can see, the S&P 500 is also dipping. SPY is dipping right now as well. We're barely holding 555. To be bullish, you want to reclaim 559 at the very least, at least to turn back up. We're pretty far from that. We're barely holding this key support. This is the first time we're losing this in over a week. So if 555 breaks, I think we're easily going down to 547 on SPY. And then below 547, we have the gap fill into the mid 540s. So I anticipate more downside. I think there's going to be a big dump coming, and we're going to likely start filling at least a part of this gap. So I see SPY basically getting a big rejection after this diamond reversal and the fact that the daily is turning more bearish. So I see a dip to at least first off, the 550 area, which is where we have this gap support, then eventually 547, and then even lower levels like the gap fill to 543. We look more bearish nonetheless. All right. For Bitcoin, we look more bearish as well. We're starting to dip right here. We got to reclaim 62,000 to turn back up. Otherwise, we're at risk of dipping to about 56,000s. For ES, ES is dipping as well. We're going to be looking for basically 55, 56. If we lose that, we're looking for 5,500. And to turn back up, you want to break past 5,600. We look more bearish, so I anticipate the low 5,500s are coming. There's likely going to be more downside nonetheless. NQ is looking more bearish. We're barely in the low 19,000s. So much for this bull flag. I don't think it's going to play out. I think we're just going to continue to dip. If we lose 19,175, there's going to be a bigger dip towards 18,900. And then the next target is going to be around the 18,600s if that breaks. We're not going to worry about that yet. We're going to be looking at the low 19,000s for now. Looking at the QQQ, we're currently at 466. I think that we're going to be dipping down towards 464 very, very soon. And then we have that gap to fill all the way down to about the 464 level, followed by the next support around 458. So we look more bearish. I do think the 450s are likely coming. I think the QQQ has a long way down, so we are anticipating the downside. For Apple, we look a little bit more bearish, but we haven't lost critical support. I do see us potentially dipping down to about the 223s tomorrow. If we lose those, we could be dipping lower to fill this gap to 221. But overall, it's still showing some strength by holding up. For others out there, for those who are interested, we also have Supermicro looking very bearish. We have a very, very bearish looking daily candlestick. We're barely at 414, so I do see the 300 and 380s coming. 400 supported in the 380s, excuse me. That's going to likely be coming. So I anticipate downside for Supermicro. For Palantir, we look more bearish as well. We've dipped quite a bit after Nvidia's earnings. I think we could be dipping for 29.5, followed by 29 flat for more downside. For the IWM Russell 2000, I see 215 coming. If that fails us, we're going to be coming down to 212. We look more bearish nonetheless. To be bullish, you want to reclaim 218. But so far, we favor the downside. For SoFi, I know people are interested in this. This looks kind of weak now after Nvidia's earnings. Could be dipping for this trend line of support right over here. 7.4 is coming, followed by 7.3. Looks more bearish to me. For AMD, I know a lot of people are interested in this one. We're barely holding 140. If 140 fails us, we're looking for 137, followed by 131. So we look more bearish on AMD. I think 140 is going to fail. I think we're going to be dipping lower thanks to Nvidia. The perfect excuse, right? The perfect excuse to dump things. ARM looks weaker, like I was saying. We could be looking for a move towards 120. If that fails us, we're going down towards 117. Coinbase looks a little bit more bearish. If we don't hold above 192, we're going to be looking for a dip all the way down towards 188. And if that fails us, we're going down to two supports. The next one will be 182, followed by the gap fill for 179. Looks more bearish to me. Amazon looks a little bit weaker as well. We're starting to dip right now. We got to hold above 172. I could see this dip down towards 167, and I do see a risk of that in my personal opinion. So be very, very careful with Amazon. That's going to be a key level. For Meta, we look more bearish. I could see this dip all the way down to about 512. If that fails us, we're dipping to about 509. For Microsoft, we got to reclaim 415 to turn back up. Otherwise, we favor downside. I think 405 and 402 are coming. Google might be dipping even lower as well. We got to reclaim 166 to turn back up. Otherwise, we favor downside. I could be looking for a move down to 161, so watch for that as well. So that being said, guys, the market is looking a little bit more bearish. I think Nvidia is going to be the perfect excuse to dump things. I anticipate a dump is coming for SPY and the QQQ. Now, we might open close to where we are, and the dump may actually start when we open. So that may give us a good opportunity. We're not even like close to the target move yet. We have plenty of points to drop. So that means that there's still opportunity to get in, to try to trade this, to scalp it, and do whatever you guys want to do. With that being said, as far as Tesla goes, unfortunately, we're looking bearish, making lower highs and lower lows. The falling wedge-like structure has failed. And I'm favoring the downside, at least for Tesla for the time being. I think Tesla may dip a little bit lower. And I think that instead of a falling wedge, this is developing into a rejection structure that's going to take us even lower down to these supports into the 190s. That's what I'm seeing for Tesla. For the time being, that does not mean I'm a big bear. I'm just a bear for the time being because of what we're seeing around the markets. Things could shift in a couple of weeks for Tesla as we get closer to the Robotaxi event. But for now, the charts are pointing downwards. All right. So thank you for listening, guys. I'll be back tomorrow to talk about the GDP numbers. Until then, have a great day, night, and evening, wherever you guys are around the world. And I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you for listening, and peace out.